my fellow Americans. The bells whose chime you heard tolled a few minutes ago was cracked, so tradition has it, when it was jubilantly tolled to announce and celebrate the signing of the Declaration of Independence here in Philadelphia. Wherefore, it is called the Liberty Bell. The Declaration of Independence, however, was merely the assertion of liberty and not the achievement of it. Between the assertion and the achievement, between the Declaration of Independence and the final defeat of the British, there were 5 years of what Tom Paine called the times that try men's souls. Between the joyful tolling of the Liberty Bell and the surrender of Cornwallis at Yorktown, there was the failed invasion of Canada, the Continental Army's hasty retreat from Long Island, the American losses at Brandywine Creek and Germantown that led to British occupation of this city, the bitter winter of hardship and deprivation at Valley Forge, 20 miles from here. The Liberty Bell itself was ignominiously taken down from its belfry and spirited away to be hidden under a church floor in Allentown so that the occupying redcoats would not melt it down for cannon. The outcome of that struggle for liberty was not a sure thing. The men who signed the Declaration of Independence did indeed put on the line, as they said, their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. 5 of them were captured by the British. 1 died from the effects of that imprisonment. 11 had their homes and property put to the torch. Thomas McKean of Delaware wrote to John Adams that he was, quote, hunted like a fox by the enemy, compelled to remove my family 5 times in a few months. These were men and women of unwavering courage. In the moral fantasy by C.S. Lewis called The Screwtape Letters, the experienced devil who is serving as mentor to his nephew, the apprentice devil, says that he and his colleagues have managed to fool mankind into believing that all sorts of virtues are vices. Modesty is prudery, humility is submissiveness, devoutness is sanctimony, etc., except for one virtue that they just can't seem to get mankind to devalue, because it is so obviously and undeniably a virtue when it is needed. That is, of course, the virtue of courage. Liberty, of course, is for the brave, not for those who believed the old Cold War slogan, better red than dead. And just as courage and the accompanying virtue of constancy were necessary to establish our liberty, so also have they been necessary to preserve it. From the War of 1812, in which our capital was again occupied by the British, and this time burned, to the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, which confront the new tyranny of state-sponsored terrorism, our armed forces have responded with the courage that befits a great and free people. But the courage needed to preserve our liberties is not only the physical courage of our warriors. It includes as well the moral courage or civic courage demanded of all our citizens if liberty is to survive. The courage to stand up against that tyranny most feared by the framers of our Constitution, the tyranny of the majority. This is the courage of ordinary people like Rosa Parks, of great people like Martin Luther King, and of all those who resist popular moves to disregard constitutionally established rights or to subvert the constitutional structure of our democracy. Sometimes these opponents of the popular will are wrong. I will not name names. Alas, civic courage is not always accompanied, as it should be, by civic wisdom. But better civic courage that is misplaced than no civic courage at all. When that virtue disappears from our midst, the central liberty of our democracy, on which all the other liberties depend, the freedom of speech, will become, in effect, the freedom to agree with the prevailing view. So when we hear that Liberty Bell sound, let us salute the American courage that makes it ring true. And let us resolve always to be the home of the brave, that we may always remain the land of the free. Thank you.